Hello, in this video I'm going to quickly show you how to add dimensions to your orthogonal drawing. You can see here I've got my finished orthogonal drawing. I've already put my my view labels on, but it's probably best to wait until you've finished your dimensioning before you do that. There are some rules around view placements and consistency, and you might find that they're affected by your dimensions. So make sure you refer to page 15 of your VICA technical drawing specs to help you with that. Alright, so I have gone ahead and made a detailed plan of how I'm going to put the dimensions on my number 5. There's a couple of things that it's important to note. I've made sure that I haven't doubled up any dimensions. I've made sure that everything important has a figure against it. Normally you wouldn't dimension hidden details, but I've got this detail down here that I need to put dimensions on. I probably could have put it underneath, but because I've got my arc dimensioned over here, I thought that that looked a little bit too complicated. I do have it dimensioned here, but it's not a proper square, so I've made a point of putting that up there just so that that is clear. I think that's okay. It's really up to you to judge those things as long as you follow the basic rules. Make sure that you refer to page 20 to 22 of your VICA technical drawing specs to help you with all of that. And then, of course, I've put down here all dimensions in millimeters to remind myself that that needs to go on my finished drawing. Alright, so first things first, I have added to my drawing some guides to help me with the placement of my projection lines and my dimension lines. So VICA tells us that projection lines can't touch the object, they need to be a millimeter away, and then they also tell us that they need to extend 2 millimeters past the last dimension line. So I've got some short dimensions which I'm going to put on this first line, because we do short dimensions closest to our object and we work our way out in terms of length. And then I've got the second lot for the total height of my object. Alright, let's go ahead and start. So I'm going to, now that I've put these guides in, I've got one for the 1 millimeter gap, I've got 10 mil for my first projection dimension line, I've got 2 mil to help me make sure that I project the projection lines past that by 2 mil. Alright, so I'm going to click and drag, super easy because I've got my smart guides on, etc. Need to make sure that the line weight is correct, so we don't want it to be the same as the lines in our actual object. It needs to be finer. VICA tells us that it's about 1/3 the weight, so my actual lines are 1 point. I've changed this to 0.3 point. If you can't find that there, you just need to click on your stroke menu, or you can find it via the window option. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing down the bottom here. This time though, it needs to extend past that point. Now I could just try drawing it there, but I'm going to just click and drag on the end and making sure that it's about 1 millimeter away. Alright, so I'll just turn off my guides for a sec to show you where we're at. So you can see I've got my 2 projection lines at either end. Okay, I'm going to add some more. I've got to add some down here for these features down here. So my smart guides are going to help me do that perfectly. I'm only taking them to there because these are my short dimensions. They don't need to go all the way to the outside. You'll see as I get closer to finishing them. Alright, so that's it for the projections lines on this side of my number 5. So now I'm going to go in and do the actual dimension lines. And I'm going to do this kind of a cheats way. So the first one, I'm going to draw it in. And then the second one, even though I'm going to divide this up, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to draw it from the top all the way to the bottom. Alright, we know that these lines need to have arrowheads, so to add the arrowheads you go over here to your stroke menu. Like I said, you can find it up there under window if it's not here, and then there's this little option in here, arrowheads. If you can't see all the options, just remember you click on those lines there and it will say more options, or hide options in my case. Okay, so I'm going to click on here. Vika is really specific about the type of arrow we have to use, but I have found that arrow number 9 is perfect. So in this case I need an arrow to be at either end of the line. It helps if you have a line selected. Go back, select my line and do it again. And now if I click off, you can see it's added a little line up there. But I don't want my arrow to be at either end. I actually need to have some arrows in here. So super easy way of doing that is to just click and drag it to the correct size, and then I'm going to copy and paste and place it that way. So if you've got all of your projection lines in place, this is super quick. Alright, so let's turn the dimensions, turn the guides off, sorry. So there you go, you can see that it's starting to look quite neat. Alright, I'm going to add some arrows to this line. Okay, so that is all the dimensioning that I'm going to put on the left side of my front view. I need to add in the actual numbers. So to do that, I'm going to go over to my type tool. I'm just going to create a little box. I'll put the first number in, which is 204 millimeters. You can change the size of this. Remember to hold the shift key down so it doesn't change the proportions. You can change the size. It's up to you. There are no specific rules around what size this needs to be. Obviously it needs to be readable, so you don't want it too small, but you also don't want it so big that it's distracting from the rest of your drawing. Once you have typed it in, you just need to click on the corner and drag it around so that it's at a right angle. Make sure you refer to your specs to check about where you need to place these numbers, but I'm going to put mine here on the outside of my dimension line. It shouldn't touch, should be about halfway, but you can just judge that by eye. Alright, so to add the dimensions to these other places, I'm just going to copy and paste. I'm going to just put them where they need to go, and then I'll go back and edit them. Alright, so make sure that you've clicked out of your type tool to do that part, but to edit them, I'm actually going to go back to my type tool, and I am going to click on them, and then I can go back and change the figures. So this is 106, .34, and 64. Alright, you might need to go back at that point and just make sure that they are nicely placed. Alright, so that is basically how to add dimensions to your orthogonal drawing.